You see this? I gotta get this set up today. Hi everybody, it is time for me to set up my new Kanban board. It has been a while since I have used it, but if you saw a recent video of mine, which I will leave linked up above, I have decided to utilize the HB90 planning method when it comes to my work life, when it comes to setting goals and accomplishing them. The Power Sheets, which is my goal setting planner in general, it's just really not doing what I need it to when it comes to setting like really concrete financial goals, numbers oriented goals. It's a very like touchy-feely planner, and I need some some less emotional, more like rigid goals. I'm a very touchy-feely person, and so it's easy for me to procrastinate by avoiding the numbers goals that stress me out. I incorporated it into my life right before we moved to Denver from Napa, probably as a way to kind of cope with how stressed out I was, which wasn't a really good idea. So I think that I'm gonna do this as kind of like a test run, but it's only gonna be through mid-August, which is when I'm filming this, to the end of September. You're gonna see this mid-September, so if you wanna see how it's been going, check my Instagram out, @LlamaLetters, for some updates. Now, some of you are probably like, what the hell is a Kanban board? It's a visual tool for project management. It helps you kind of limit how much you're doing at any given time, while at the same time really being able to see where you are in the context of the larger project that you're working on. One of the things I like about it is that it really helps me break projects down in a digestible way. Like, it's not as overwhelming when you have the steps really laid out that way. Trello is probably the most well-known one for doing digital Kanban boards, but like I said, a physical one is the business for me. So I have my new board, which is a big acrylic board from Circle and Square Decor on Etsy, which I will link down below. Wasn't cheap. It was one of those splurges that when I knew this was the house we were moving into, I decided to splurge on it for my office. I'm just hoping it really works for me, because otherwise I'm gonna be glaring at it like, fuck, I spent a lot of money on you. And then I'm gonna be using Post-it notes, like Post-it notes and a board to put them up on. For right now, let's just get it set up and get going. So what I decided to do was, rather than go through the whole planning process in the HB90 planner, I had already done that, and I had built it into content, Skillshare, like content, teaching, and the Etsy shop as my 3 goals. And I decided I'm not gonna do any Skillshare classes until next year, because I need to focus on what I'm doing now, and I'd rather do 1 or 2 things good than do a whole bunch of things crappy, right? I'm basically gonna take the things I wrote down in my September Power Sheets, because they really do apply. For the content goal, relaunch the podcast. For the Etsy goal, finish the fuckery flowers. And rather than a teaching goal, I am going to finish the rebrand so that I can utilize that across my platform, so that at the beginning of the year, when I start another Skillshare class, I will have all of the things ready to go. So those are the 3 gigantic kind of projects under the goals that I have broken up into a whole bunch of tasks in the HB90 planner. I just basically brain dumped everything possible, and then every time I came up with an idea, like something like YouTube images for the rebrand, right? I broke it up into the images that need to get done, that sort of thing. I'm gonna change my pen ink out because I wanna use this Pentel Klena for my my Post-its, but I just scribbled something down and it is running out, so I'm using a refill now. Anyway, one of the things that I also want to make sure to do is I want to break things down into manageable pieces, but not so tiny that it feels ridiculous. So a tip I can give you is break your shit down into what comes to your mind, right? So for me, rebrand, we'll use the YouTube images as an example. I put YouTube images, Patreon images, Skillshare images, Instagram images, so on and so forth, right? That seems pretty okay, but then it's like, okay, YouTube images, what falls under that? And so what I did was I made a list of the YouTube images. Now, if I didn't want to overwhelm myself with Post-it notes, I might decide to put just YouTube images and make my list somewhere else. But what I actually want to do is just make individual Post-it notes of YouTube, like the cover and the icon and the watermark and all that, right? So I'm gonna do that. It might seem a little excessive, but I'm very absent-minded and scatterbrained. It's very easy for me to lose track of small details like that, so having them written down in an obvious place is gonna be important. But one of the things that Sarah Cannon does say is like, you can break it down as much or as little as you want to. Super, super granular, like for my fuckery flowers, I've got finish paintings. I don't have like pick color palette and then do color pencil work and then do final touches or whatever. I'm just like finish them because most of them are started. The one that's barely started, it does say paint layer and then finish, but I'm not breaking it down into tiny steps. I'm breaking it down into the steps that make the most sense for me. Anyway, so for those three big projects, I've got three, and they're like massive projects, right? I've got 3 colors of Post-its. These are the World of Color, oh, what's it called? I think Cape Town collection, got them off of Amazon. I wish I had cuter colors, but this is what I'm gonna work with, man. So I'm gonna use the 3 colors. The blue is gonna be for the podcast, the green for the Etsy shop, and the pink for the rebrand. So right now what I'm gonna do is use this Clenna, and the reason I'm using this instead of a fine liner is I think this has the lowest chance of smearing. I'm going to just get these all written out, and then what we will do is move to the board and I will get it set up. It doesn't have anything on it yet except for Jesse writing the word situation, so I'm gonna have to draw some lines in before I get everything on there. This is an example of something that I am doing very granularly. For these new podcast episodes I'm going to be recording, I am actually breaking this down into 6 steps. The outline, recording, transcribing, because I would like to get it's one thing I was pretty shameful about was not having a transcription of my episodes. So I'm going to work on transcribing all the episodes as I make them, and then also probably hire somebody to do, or hire one of my kids or somebody to run my previous episodes through a transcriber as well. But outline, record, transcribe, get the show notes done, the artwork. That's another thing I'd like to do, a new art for every episode because I think that's cool. And then schedule them, right? This does not involve like any kind of social media stuff or whatever to promote it. It's just getting them ready to rock. But this isn't something granular that I am doing to keep track of them because I will be working in chunks. I may move episodes around because of like if something happens that is more pressing to talk about, then I might record a different episode and move the other ones around. And I'm fine with that. But I want to have a bit of a cushion in place so I don't have to do another hiatus quickly after coming back. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that when I come back, I'm pretty solid coming back so that I don't disappoint people. I know a lot of you will be like, it's okay, Cindy, we'll be fine, we understand, but like, I don't like that. I like being consistent. If you haven't noticed, like even when I was moving, I wanted to be consistent with videos coming out. So it's not because, oh, be consistent so you can grow. It's actually not about that. It's because when I say I'm going to show up, I like to show up. And when I have to reschedule, like I had to reschedule a patron thing recently because one of my kids really needed me, I don't feel guilty about that. But what I do want to make sure is that it's not my own flakiness that's making me have to reschedule. That's the thing I want to avoid, because trust me when I say it is entirely possible. Hence, recording several things at once, and then if I need to do something that's really of the moment, then I'll do that. But I will have episodes in the can as I need them. Now, where am I at though? Now I'm confusing myself because I'm talking at the same time. I also say that if you're going to do a Kanban board, this is the most tedious part, is getting it set up. But I have noticed in the past when I've used this to get shit done that if you follow through with using it, if it's actually helpful for you, and it was. The last time I released a set of fuckery flowers, it was the Kanban board that helped me get through. So it's no wonder I'm coming back to this system as I am ready to try again. So the point is that this tediousness is worth it if you're gonna use it. If you're not gonna use it, then this might be a whole bunch of bullfuckery that is unnecessary. I'll add one more thing while I'm in the middle of never-ending Post-it notes. My handwriting, very, very sloppy. Like, sloppy. I'm not even gonna lie. The important thing here is that it's legible. I need to know what I wrote. That's all I need. I just need to know what I wrote. If you can't read what I wrote, it doesn't really matter. You want to be able to read it because you're nosy, which there's no shame. Trust me. I'm one of those people that as soon as the Instagram allowed you the capability to zoom in on people's shit, I was zooming all over people's shit just because I want to see. I want to see all the things. So no shame in being nosy. But the point is, you want to read these to be nosy. I want to read these so I can get my work done. It's not nosy because it's my shit. Oh, Cindy, too many Post-it notes. And you haven't even finished your first category yet. One thing you'll notice is I am kind of keeping them in little groups. It'll just make it easier when it's time to put them up on the board for me to organize them. At least that's what I am telling myself. Okay, so this is all the podcast stuff. Half a stack of Post-it notes in the bag. Okay, so let's put these guys over here. Out of my way. Fuckery flowers. So kind of a similar situation. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 categories for 12 different paintings, as well as 1 extra category for one of the paintings. Like I said, one of them is much less farther along than the rest of them. And I think I might, for the sake of expediency, I may abbreviate these paintings. So while I was filling this out, I decided that I was going to not do the Post-its exactly the same as I thought I was going to. Unlike the podcasts, what I realized was there are some tasks that I want to break into a per painting basis because of the time and the effort that they take. And so there is a very good chance that those things won't get done on the same day, right? However, there are other things that are quick to be done and can all probably get done in one session. And so rather than have a Post-it for every single thing, I can just do basic sections. Now, the reason I didn't do this for the podcasts is because the podcasts have so many moving parts that it's just going to be easier for me to keep track of it if I know where each episode is in production. But with the paintings, for example, there's one painting that still needs to get finished being painted. All of these are all colored pencil work, and each one of them is probably, like, I'm probably not going to do more than one of them a day, at the most. Like, might be not, and I'm not saying I'll finish each of them in a session, but like, it's a lot of like detail work, so it's going to take time, right? So it's important to know which ones I've worked on and which ones I'm in the middle of and which ones I'm not. Same with formatting them for prints, you know, editing, color correcting, making sure that the background is taken care of, getting them ready to test print. That takes time, and chances are I'll be doing it in chunks as I have time to. So having each individual one have their own format Post-it note is probably more helpful for me. However, the 2 that I was originally going to do are individual Post-it notes for that I decided to just do 2 big Post-it notes for are test prints and scanning, because I'm not going to scan these until they're all done. And then I can just do one scanning session, plug the scanner in, get them all scanned in, so I don't have to tweak the settings over and over again. It'll all just be good to go. And then the test printing, same deal, right? Once they're all done being formatted, I'll do a test print of each one at the same time and see how they look. It's very, like, 99.9% unlikely that either of these would need to be done over the course of more than one day. They'd both be done in just one. Each one of these Post-its can be taken care of in one session, probably not even a full day's worth of work. Like, I know it's not a full day's worth of work. But the paintings and the formatting are both much bigger chunks of time. And so in this particular case, it just makes sense to break it up this way. My goal is to finish the fuckery flowers. I wrote down a bunch of tasks for the launching of them, but I think that actually is going to be an October job, because it occurred to me that this is a lot of fucking work and I haven't even gotten to finishing my website shit yet. So I'm gonna keep that. I have them written down so I can use them for next quarter's Kanban board. Pretty sure this is plenty. Remember, this is not for a full quarter. This is for less than half a quarter. And then finally, the project that I have been working on allegedly since July, and I've actually not been working on it as much as I'd hoped to, but now that I've got this really broken down, I think it'll be a lot better for me. And that's the rebrand, which includes the new website. And in that same vein, I just did the same thing for my rebrand, sort of. Remember how I was saying I was going to do separate Post-its for each image? It seemed like overkill going to the theory of, like, I know I can get this done in, like, I can get all the YouTube things done in one sit down, but I did want the list of them, so I just put the list on the Post-it. We'll see how that goes. All right, I got all those done. So all of the Post-its are finished. We've got the little piles. Now it's time to move to the board. So first things first, I had to erase the bullshit Jesse wrote up there. My first thought was that I was going to use a whiteboard, chalkboard marker to draw the lines in and with a ruler, but it didn't take very long for me to realize that I really didn't like this, both because it was a pain in my ass and because every time I touched it, it smeared. So I was like, what should I do? And then I remembered I own about 1 billion rolls of washi tape. So I decided to get up and go find one that I liked. And the one that I found was one that's actually pretty pale, but you can still see it, like the shadow of it almost, and I like how subtle it is. The first step with your Kanban board is to divide it into sections. I'm dividing mine into 3 sections vertically and 3 sections horizontally. The vertical sections represent the 3 different projects. The horizontal sections represent the 3 stages any given task might be in. So the top section for each project is all of the tasks that still need to be done. The middle section is going to be all of the tasks that are currently being worked on this week. And then the bottom section is for all of the tasks that have been completed. That way, you can see everything you have left to do, everything you're in the middle of doing right now, and then everything you've accomplished to help motivate you to get it done, which I think actually for me, seeing the Post-its build up on the bottom is a big motivator. Now, when I was putting the Post-its up onto the board, I arranged each project a little differently. So the podcast I arranged first into all of the general tasks that need to be done, and then I gave sort of little clusters for each episode, kind of like how I wrote them out and then separated them. So when I glance at it, I can see each podcast episode's little group of tasks, but I can still peel off them in the correct order. So if I want to do all the recording at once, I can peel all of those top ones off and then continue forward. Or if I want to work on one podcast from start to finish at a time, I can also do that. I can pretty much guarantee I'm not going to do it that way, but it's nice to be able to if I did want to. Now, when it comes to my flowers, my paintings, instead of organizing them in clusters like this, I actually am going to have them organized in groups of stages. And I want to be able to see them all so I can, again, see the progress on each painting. So I will have all of the finished painting flowers spread out in one section that I can see. And then the same thing for formatting, and then I'll just stick the other Post-it notes off to the side. And then for the rebrand, I want to just have them in categories based on kind of what section they are related to. So the social media stuff, images for social media versus a photo session versus doing stuff for the website, those sorts of things. That's kind of how I clustered them together for the final project. Now that it's set up, it's ready for me to start my week and decide what I'm going to work on this week when it comes to these projects, figure out what I have going on otherwise in my life and work for the week so that I'm prioritizing things correctly and not overloading myself. But this way I can, every Sunday or whenever I sit down to plan, figure that shit out, move the Post-it notes down, and begin making progress. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below if using a Kanban board is something you've ever tried before. If you have, tell us all about it. If you haven't, let us know how you like to manage your projects, whether work or otherwise. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, friends, peace out.